Yep, it's the brand new 2015 Toyota Yaris. And here's something really interesting about this small car. It's European designed, French built, Japanese car. And let's see how this strange mishmash of cultures works on American roads. And that is coming up next on the Fast Lane Car. A few years ago, now hang with me, it's a bit of a tongue twister, the CEO of Toyota, Akio Toyoda, decided that Toyota cars were just a little bit too mundane, a little bit too boring, and he wanted them to have life and passion, and this is what they came up with. It's the brand new 2015 Yaris, and it's designed in Europe, and it's actually built in France. Now, is it more lively? Is it more spunky? Is it more fun? It certainly has that new Toyota big open maw, and I'll leave the rest to you because to me it looks a little bit like a startled squirrel. Yeah, so what rhymes with Paris, and it's built in France, but is owned by a Japanese car company. And of course the answer is this Yaris. So, let's see how these small cars do on American roads. Under the hood is the same old 4-cylinder, 1.5 liter that puts out 106 horsepower and 103 pound-foot of torque. It's mated to a 4-speed automatic. Now that's interesting because the Honda Fit, which is all new, has gone with a CVT. Now this engine combined gets 33 mpg, which feels a little bit old school, and that's kind of the problem with just doing a mid-cycle refresh when you keep the powertrain. You need to kind of up that to compete in a modern world that has a lot higher mpg in these small cars. Now, I'm a big guy, as you can tell, and I have a fondness for small cars. The very first car that I ever owned was a car that my dad gave me when I turned 16, and that was the old Honda Civic CBCC. And that was a really small car as well. And ever since then, I've really liked small cars. So there's just something about a little diminutive car that feels right to me. How does this feel? Well, let's floor it. Yeah, you know, it's peppy, it's good. It's direct. The steering wheel is nice and fat. The seat is firm. The headroom is adequate. And the design is modern and young and youthful, because this is going to be a car that is going to be driven by people probably much younger than me at this point. And the best selling proposition that Toyota has for this vehicle is its reliability, because you know that you're going to be able to own this thing for the life of the car without having to take it to the dealership. And that's a trump card in a lot of ways, because sportiness only goes so far when you're stuck on the side of the road. Reliability will always be something that trumps that. Inside, it's pretty basic. I mean, this is a sub $20,000 car, so you're not going to get luxury amenities. What you do get is some nice French stitching. You get a new radio, which is a little bit more modern, and you get, well, you get a 4-speed transmission that doesn't hook up to paddle shifters and barely fits 5 people in a real pinch. It's a very tight car, and when you're sitting next to someone, you're going to be very close to them, so you better like that person. Having said that, your heart connects with, at least mine, with the sportiness of the car, and your brain connects with the reliability. So does this connect with my heart as well? And the answer, unfortunately, is no. That droning engine, kind of lackluster acceleration. And I do give them props for putting a 4-speed in here, which is better than a CVT, but I'd like to see a 5-speed. So it doesn't connect with my heart, but it does connect with my brain, and I think that's probably good enough for Toyota. Now this 5-door starts at $15,900, and it can be had in a 4-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual. If you want to save some money, you can get the 3-door, which is about $1,000 cheaper. Of course, back here, there's enough room for perhaps a purse dog, maybe a little bit bigger, but if you're a Great Dane kind of person, this is not the car for you. This car would feel really at home on the streets of Paris. Can you imagine just how bigger it would feel when you're in some place that is very tight and very old and has small roads and small parking spaces? Just like a fish in water. But when you get this car, and it's not just this car, it's any car in this class, right? When you get these small cars in America, where we have huge highways and F-150s roaming the byways and highways of America, untethered and untamed, not to mention F-250s, F-350s, and I just don't want to pick on Fords, any of those heavy-duty, super-duty trucks. This thing feels sort of scary on the highway. It doesn't have enough punch, it doesn't have enough heft, and it certainly doesn't have enough road presence to make you feel comfortable. The Japanese have this magic ability to build cars that are bigger on the inside than on the outside, and the Yaris is no exception, especially in the front. The front, well, that's got plenty of room for 2 people, even though you're going to be shoulder to shoulder. Back here, I'm 6'2", and my head hits the ceiling, and my knees have enough room. But man, if you were taking some coworkers to lunch, I bet you they would not want to spend a lot of time back here. It's just very claustrophobic. If you live in San Francisco, if you live in New York, and you're parking this on the street, it's a perfect urban car. There's a lot of competition in the sub $20,000 class. Perhaps the sportiest is the Mazda 2 or the Ford Fiesta. Certainly the most utilitarian all-around Swiss Army knife is the Honda Fit. You get a lot of value if you go with the Kia Rio. There's just a number of cars I could go and talk about. What Toyota brings to the table, of course, is reliability. This is a car that may not be the sportiest, may not be the fastest, and certainly may not be the prettiest, but it is certainly the most reliable, and you're pretty much guaranteed to have a very painless ownership experience if you go with the Yaris. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I think in Colorado, it's a bit of a fish out of water, but you put it anywhere else in an urban situation, and all of a sudden, this sharp little car is going to start to feel much more at home. Tight turning circle, direct steering, enough room for 5 people in a pinch and 4 people in most times. It'll do well. I can see all you urbanites out there being very happy with the Yaris, and I can see it being pretty dinged up in the city after a few years, but ticking along like a Swiss cuckoo clock, always starting up when you go. On the TFL scale of buy it, lease it, rent it, or forget it, once again, you know the answer. I've only been behind the wheel for about a half hour, so it's not fair to you and it's not fair to Toyota. We'll have to wait till we spend a whole week behind the wheel. However, I can tell you that driving up here on the highway, there was an F-350 diesel that wanted to get past me, and seeing that big boy in my rearview mirror felt really scary. As always, this is Roman reporting for the Fast Lane Car. Check out TFLcar.com for more news, views, and of course, real world reviews. Ciao. I may have just misspoken. I'm kind of driving back and forth for Andre to get shots of this car, and a city car needs a really tight turning radius, so let's just see how this car does on a relatively city-sized street. Full lock. Oh, that is not a tight turning radius. So yeah, maybe as a city car, one of the things that Toyota could concentrate on is actually giving this thing a little bit more of a tight turning radius so that you can make turns in crowded environments. Just a little impromptu off-the-cuff test. Hey, let's go off-roading. Woo! I think it actually does better off-road than it does with the turning radius test.